Welcome back to the Cozy Let's Play. In this episode, we transform this entire plains into a lovely cottagecore farmland region, complete with fields of different types, lovely detailed pathways throughout, and some cherry trees dotted across the landscape. I had a lot of fun in the adventure that is today's episode, and I hope you guys do as well. Let's jump into it. Today is the day that we work on the farmland around our newly constructed farmhouse and storage shed. In the last episode, we worked on constructing these two brand new buildings over here, whereas our very first building was constructed up on this hill and over the ridge just a little bit. This area is, however, not complete yet. We've got quite a bit of work to do. I want to transform most of, if not all of this wide open plains here into a huge area of farmland consisting of wheat, potatoes, eventually carrots when we get them, and maybe even beetroot as well. Not that I really plan to use them, but you know, for aesthetic purposes. With all of that in mind, the very first thing we're going to need to do is grab a bunch of leaves and start outlining some of the different fields. So this is what I'm thinking for all of the different farmland sort of splotches, if you will. I outlined it with a mix of both birch leaves and spruce leaves, as I really like those combination of leaves together. We're going to splotch out a couple more around the area here, especially out in this area, and we'll probably keep them somewhat similar to that size. Each one of these would have one type of crop or flower or what have you growing within, and then once we get a bunch of them out here and a bunch of the different colors showing and everything, I think it would start to look really, really cool. One of the things I do have to do is plan out how our road is going to interact with this area as well. I mentioned in the previous episode how I want this road to eventually make its way through this little valley and then in between the dip between that cherry grove and this one right along the way, and then it eventually leads over to that river over there. I want to definitely have a road that kind of goes off that way, and we're also going to need some pathways that kind of meander through some of these different fields and whatnot. We'll probably have one that kind of shoots out this way. We'll have a couple that kind of go out this way, and we'll try to navigate them around each of these farms in a way that ends up tying everything together nicely. Enough talking about it though. I think it's time to get placing on some more of these fields. Okay, we've got 4 different splotches of farmland laid out and ready to be detailed up with a little bit of some crops and planting action throughout. And I'm trying to decide between 2 different styles. I could either fill in each of these farmland splotches with just entirely one type of, whether it's, you know, wheat, one type of crop, or one type of flower, or whatever, and go for that aesthetic, or I could base them loosely around a majority and then kind of sprinkle in some things like strands of grass and coarse dirt and whatnot. And I think I might be leaning the second route just to make these a little more interesting. Alongside that, I've laid out some of the roads. You can kind of see right here where I've just loosely taken the shovel and placed some path blocks and whatnot, leaving enough room in between some of the farmland splotches to widen the path out and detail it up really nicely. Like I mentioned earlier, I plan on having some custom trees potentially placed throughout some of these little weird areas, and maybe like in the middle of that intersection right there. Trying to find and think about certain locations where it could be nice to have a couple of trees. Whether or not they end up being custom trees, I guess we'll see. I'm thinking they will be, but I guess it'll come down to time. And to add on with the trees, I think I might do something around like the very border into the forest right here, as I don't plan on cutting into the forest. I don't plan on expanding any of these any further that way. We're just going to be utilizing some of this area here. And overall, I think we've got a very good idea, a very good outline kind of planned out. What I want to do before I place any more of the farmland is I want to actually detail up maybe this one that's closest to us right now, just to get a feel for it. I might do a couple more, and then we'll come back up here, we'll take a look at things and see how we're feeling. Alright, I've spent the last little bit doing quite a bit of farming, and I think overall I'm really happy with how it looks. I went for a good little mix of everything. We've got some grass blocks that I left alone. We've got some coarse dirt blocks. We've got some grass pieces mixed in there, and then of course I planted wheat all the way throughout. One of the things you might notice is that I covered all of the water splotches using lily pads. This is something I've always done as a nice way to fill in the farmland, cover up the water, and make it so that you're not falling into it every 2 seconds. As a whole, I think this is going to work great in some of the other fields with some carrots, potatoes, beetroot, whatever it might be. Even sunflowers that just have some flower types and whatnot. Maybe some sunflowers in one, maybe some rose bushes in one, that kind of thing. We can really kind of vary everything up a good bit. I'm not too sure how many more fields we're going to be doing, but we'll just keep going until we fill up this whole general area here and see what we get to. But either way, this is a really good start, and I'm really happy with it so far. The first thing for us to work on here is to set up the potato field. So we're going to go ahead and till a bunch of the land, get some water ready, grab a bunch of our potatoes, and we can properly get this farm started. Just like with the wheat, I don't currently have enough potatoes yet, so we're going to have to plant a bunch of it and then keep going back and forth and farming both of the types until we have enough overflow. While we wait for all the crops to grow so that we can harvest them again, we're going to fill in some holes, we're going to work on a couple of the pathways, and just pretty the place up a little bit more. On top of that, I'm going to prep some of the other fields for some of the future things we want to plant. These will probably end up being flower types as opposed to actual crops. And at this point, it's just a matter of waiting for the potatoes to grow so that we can get a couple more to keep planting the field. Continuing to gather some more wheat so that we can work on our backlog of that for some bud and some breeding in the future. And then of course we are also going to need some carrots. We've got wheat, we've got potatoes, we can get some flowers. I still haven't found any carrots, and that is going to prove to be an issue. So we should go try to find some. While we're out and about, I'm definitely gonna make sure to gather a bunch of these too tall flowers, the peonies, the sunflowers, the rose bushes, and the lilacs. And a couple of things I'm keeping an eye out for are water sources that might have some shipwrecks, zombies that might be able to drop some carrots, and maybe even any pre-generated structures that might have something for us. While we're traveling about, I've noticed quite a few absolutely breathtaking areas. This seed does not disappoint. There's also a huge cherry grove that we've come across not too far away from where we're set up. This one is probably about 3 or 4 times the size of the one that we're set up in with the Cherry Creek Cottage. And there's quite a few cherry groves scattered about, not too far away from that one either. The seed definitely has a lot of the new biome showing up. It's also just got a lot of very interesting terrain generation. I've not seen a seed quite like this in a long time. As nighttime approaches, you guys are never going to believe what I just found. And not even that far from home either. That's the farmhouse right over my head over there. Look at this! We found a pink sheep in the wild. I've gone ahead and made him a little bit of an enclosure right here just so he's safe. He's in a boat. But man, oh man, we are pretty close. And we just found a pink sheep. We're going to have to do something special with that guy eventually. Let me know if you guys have any ideas. Back at home, it was time to plant some of the sunflowers to get the first of those fields going. Then, needed some mud for some of the roads that we are working on around the area. This coincides with all the wheat that we're trying to farm so that we can get a healthy amount of packed mud. Another use for the packed mud is to alternate packed mud slabs and lily pads in the water sources of the farmland, just to vary it up a little bit more and add to some of the texturing and detail within the farm. We're going to go ahead and prep the final field that we have outlined for now, and I think in this one I've got about a stack and a half of peonies for now and some bone meal, but we're going to need a lot more to continue this. In the meantime, going to work on texturing some of the farms a little bit more by sprinkling in some coarse dirt amongst the crops, the grass, and the water source blocks. The combination of these blocks creates for super interesting and super nicely textured farmland. Can't forget the strands of grass either, of course. With our coarse dirt, we're also going to start lining the sides of the road so that we can detail those up a good bit. Mostly used in just the sides of the pathways as opposed to the interior. That's where we use our packed mud. Another thing that's been bugging me recently is this lava lake, so we're going to go ahead and fill this in, get rid of the stone, and act like it was never here. And after many a skeleton later, we are close to having the sunflower farm done. Now we've got both the peony fields and the sunflower fields done and filled in, which means we can move on to the next couple that I want to do. I think right here next to the house on the western edge of it, I think I want to do a rose bush field, and then we might do 2 more. And those 2 are going to be for carrots and beetroot eventually. I finally got 1 carrot. I still don't have any beetroot seeds or anything, but I think what I'll do in the meantime is I'll fill them both in with wheat probably. Probably not even potatoes, just wheat temporarily until I can fill them up with carrots and rose bushes respectfully. These two fields right here took absolutely forever to fill in with the amount of bones and bone meal I had to collect, and given I don't have a skeleton spawner anywhere in this world, it was a lot of manual fighting. So much, in fact, that I'm up to 300 skeletons killed, and I've been killed by skeletons 3 times. Nonetheless, I've definitely been dying in this world way more than often, and I think a big part of it is just slowing everything down and playing different. I've been in nothing but gold and iron armor, unenchanted, using up some normal shields, some normal tools. It's been quite the thing to get adjusted to. But regardless of all the deaths and all the XP loss and everything like that, it's been a lot of fun to play this way so far. I've just been spending countless hours fighting mobs overnight and then terraforming during the daytime, farming during the daytime. It's been really nice and really relaxing. Enough of all of that though. I think it's time to set up another couple of fields over here. We're going to start with the one that I want to eventually be the rosebush farm, and then I think over the way we're going to do the one that will eventually be the carrot farm. Oh man, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Okay, we gotta save this guy. We gotta do something. All right, we've got him right in here. This is my first time ever finding a naturally spawning mob in diamond armor. This is crazy. We gotta do something with this guy. Not sure what yet, but at least we got him and he's safe there. I don't have a name tag, but because he's holding that, we should be good to go. If you guys have any ideas for what we should do with this guy, let me know. For now, I'm just going to keep him in this little dirt box. Both of the new fields are on their way to completion. I've currently got wheat filling in the temporary spots, and we can see all of the progress on the carrots and all of the progress on the rose bushes as well. For the carrots, it's just a matter of growing enough of them to replenish and replace all of where the wheat sits. For the rose bushes, I just need a couple more pieces of bone meal, so probably another night of fighting skeletons. As for the rest of the area, I think in terms of the number of fields that we're gonna do, I'm pretty happy with this. With how much time that everything is taken, I think I'm gonna take a slightly different direction than originally intended. For starters, I think this is enough fields. I think once we get the rose bushes and the carrots done, I'll be pretty happy with all of this. I was considering a lilac field to kind of get another pinkish purple color in there, but with the amount of time spent gathering bone meal just to get enough of the flowers, it takes quite a lot of time. So if anything, we might do that in the future. But for now, I think I'm really happy with this many fields. I would like to go ahead and add some fencing along the pathways, kind of scattered like what we did around the house right here with just a couple connected pieces every so often. Something to kind of, I suppose, direct the pathway through the area, and something that we can set some lanterns on for some lighting as you travel throughout the area. I think also for the trees, I was initially thinking maybe some custom trees, but at least for the time being, I think we're going to go with some more standard trees throughout the area. As for what type of tree, I'm not too sure yet. I'm going to experiment with a couple and kind of see what we think. I might do a couple in that area of one type, a couple of one type in that area, a different type in this area, and then we can kind of come back, regroup, and see what we're thinking for which trees we like the most for the area. With that said, the sun is setting, and we have got some skeletons to kill. Rose field now complete. While we wait for all of the carrots to grow so we can complete this field, I'm gonna get started on the fencing, the lighting, and then some of the trees. Now with the carrot field done as well, we can move on to the trees, and I think I know the very first kind of tree that I want to try in this area. I cannot believe how well the cherry trees work in this area and how good of an addition it is. To give you guys an idea, we're just going to take a little bit of a walk, a little bit of a stroll down the roads. I've added the fences and the lanterns, of course. We've got the trees, all of the fields are in place, and I don't even have the shaders kicked on yet, but this is absolutely something to behold. I could not be happier with this. I thought the cherry trees might be a good call given they're up on the hills, but I wasn't too sure how they would look in the midst of all of these fields and whatnot around the area. I'm really happy with it, and I think the biggest thing that these accomplish is the fact that they branch off in either direction the way they do if you get the right tree. Some of them end up a little weird, and I made sure not to get one of those trees that just hangs off to one side, but if you get just the right kind, where you kind of get two different sides where the branches kind of go off on one side or the other, in terms of shape, like forget the colors, forget the cool leaves, forget the particles, just in terms of shape, I think this is the best tree we've ever gotten in Minecraft, just because it's the most real feeling tree. It's the most realistic kind of shape that we've gotten, I feel like. I really love it. I think it is truly incredible. Another thing I wanted to do was dot some trees around the outer perimeter of this area, so it kind of not only snakes through where the pathways are and around where the house is, but it also follows the outside of where the farmland is, just to kind of enclose this area just a little bit more. I didn't want to go overboard, so I didn't add too many trees. I didn't add any other trees other than the cherry ones. I wanted to have something that was both just enough to really improve the area and not so much that it kind of detracted from the area, right? Because we're using a lot of large fields right here. We do want it to feel somewhat open and exposed to the sky and able to be seen from a distance without closing it in too much, and I think we found a really good balance for such a thing. Another thing I've tried to set up is a perfect little transition into what could potentially in the future be a little area for some pastures to get some animals going on the farm. This might not be big enough. Once I fill in some of the gaps and everything, we'll have to see. But it could be something we throw over on the other side of the hill. Either way, we can definitely do something cool with this area. On top of everything else, there is a little bit of some terraforming we should do. There's a lot of open caves and ravines and weird little holes in the side of the hill. Lots of things that we could just take a bunch of dirt and fill in and clean up around the area just to get it looking a little bit nicer. Well, I'm all out of dirt, and after gathering a lot more on top of what I already had, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought, so I'm going to push the terraforming to the side as a I'll get it done slowly but surely as I work on other stuff in the episodes, sort of a project. Did make some really good progress though. There was a massive hole in the ground right here going down to this expansive cave system, and we covered up this entire half of it. There's a little bit more of this little water cave section I have to cover up, then we should be good. I took the little island out of the terrain right there to widen the river to get some of the dirt, and there's still quite a lot more I need to cover up, of course, but in due time. In the meantime, it's time to go do something a little special. I found a little something not too far from here, and I want to go take a look at it. We're just over the way from home, and there is a little something I found not too long ago right next to where we spawned, and that is one of these ruins right here. I've been waiting to dig one of these up. I have not yet done so in the new update, and I figured why not at the tail end of this episode. So that's our cherry grove up on the hill over yonder. That's the village that was closest to us, and then the spawn of the world is like right in this little forest down here. This is actually really close to where we were set up. Without further ado though, let's get into things, shall we? Oh, let's find out what we get in our first suspicious gravel. An emerald! Another emerald. Oh, looks like we've got... Oh wait, what is this? Oh, no way! We got the music disc already? Relic. Oh, is this... No way. No way! What is this luck, dude? What? I can't believe of the first 4 things we found, it was 1 music disc and 1 armor trim, and then a couple emeralds. That's crazy. As we dig this area out, I'm gonna do my best to try and keep the whole thing nice and revealed to the air, I suppose. Sort of from the approach as if I was actually excavating something like this. I would want the whole thing to be uncovered, so I'm taking all the dirt, all the stone out of the area so that the entire thing is revealed. And I think I'm gonna keep this trend going throughout the rest of this ruin and see how it looks eventually. Who knows, we could maybe even dress it up and make it actually look like an actual excavation site someday. That could be pretty cool. The only downside of this being we're in iron tools. Oh, we've hit our first bits of glazed terracotta. So I actually don't know what all the trail ruins are good for. I'm not sure as to the entire loot table. I'm not sure what all these buildings are made out of. I generally know how they spawn and that they have the suspicious gravel in them, but beyond that, I don't really know much about these, so I'm really excited to uncover this. Oh, this looks like our first pottery shard? I'm silly. It was a brick. Some seeds. Wait, a whole clay block? Okay, another emerald. All right, we need a way out of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up some ladders that I can access from somewhere, and then we'll kind of tie it into the structure, I think. So to get on up to this point, maybe I'll eventually need ladders here or something. And that way I can set up some storage up top because inventory is becoming a problem. All right, here we go. We can go ahead and get some stuff sorted. That's much better. That looks like our first pottery shard. Sweet. What is this? The Howl pottery shard. I can't quite tell what it's showing on there, but Howl would make me think something like a wolf or so. I think I can actually see it now. I think I see the wolf. We'll need a couple more of these to actually make one of those. Is that dye? It is dye. Oh, another shard. All right, what is this one? Heartbreak. Oh no. More dye. Some string. Is that glass? A yellow stained glass pane. Okay, well, thanks for nothing. Looks like our third shard? No, what is that? Oh, it's another one. Another smithing template. So that one is host, I guess? How many are in this place? 2, or is there even more? Not another one. There's 3 different kinds? Dude, I don't know if this is like really good luck or if this is normal, but to have already found 3 different armor trims in here feels crazy. Ah, yes, a wooden hoe, a lead. Interesting. Okay. Ah, a pink stained glass pane. Is this another armor trim? The one I already had? Okay, that one was another wayfinder. Okay. Interesting. A dead bush? Okay. There's hanging signs in these. Oh, third pottery shard. Looks like we got our third pottery shard. Friend. Another armor trim. Second host. Looks like we've got our 4th shard. Sheaf. You know what this means. All right, take a look at this. This is our first pot. Ooh, and there's an achievement for it. Boom. Okay, so it looks like we got the Howl, the Heartbreak. This one was the Friend, I think. And then that one was the Sheaf. Whatever that means, but this looks really cool. This is my first time seeing them in game, and I love it so far. This is really nice. Another armor trim, a third wayfinder, another armor trim. Is this another? It is another wayfinder. We got another armor trim. This time it's a second shaper, another trim. Oh, we got a new one, razor. Okay. So there's 4 different trims so far. Well, I've spent the better part of about 1 to 2 hours just now excavating this place, and I don't even think I have all of it done yet, but I've done so much digging in unenchanted iron pickaxes and shovels that I have done more than I'd like today. I've spent quite a long time doing this, so I think for the digging out of this area, I'm gonna call this good for now. Let me know though in the comments below, because I don't know much about these things. Let me know if there's more to this, like if this looks like a little amount, if this looks like I probably got most of it, or if I should keep digging in the future, because if there's more to this, I'll definitely come back at some point and we can renovate, or rather excavate some more areas of it. For now though, I'd say I'm pretty happy with this. The addition of these areas is super cool to the game. I always love having new structures added, and something that you have to dig up like this I think is super unique. Here's a look at everything we got. Not everything in terms of blocks. I had to run a lot of dirt and gravel back to storage, but that's a bunch of stuff. And then here's even more of the stone, all unenchanted iron. It really was kind of brutal, but we did come away with a lot of really good stuff. I'm not going to use any of these armor trims until we have some more permanent gear, but we can definitely put these in storage, and eventually when we get a bunch of diamonds we can start replicating them, and maybe even use those on our a couple test sets of armor for our very first trim experiments, right? Either way, that was a really fun adventure that I wanted to share with you guys before we ended today's episode. A lot of grinding with the farms and everything like that, and a little bit of an adventure to throw in there just to kind of add to the fun. Either way, I hope you guys had fun on today's adventure. This episode is going to come out a little later than the previous ones have in terms of gap between them, and that's just because I had to spend a lot of time getting bone meal and a lot of time grinding the crops for the farmland. Either way, future ones hopefully shouldn't take too long. I know the next 1 or 2 might be a little more delayed as well, just because I'm finishing up the move into the new apartment and getting back to streaming over on Twitch as soon as we do so, which will indeed cut into the time that I can spend recording YouTube stuff. Do let me know in the comments what we should do with that diamond armor zombie. Let me know if there's anything more with the trail ruins that I should keep in mind. And also, Don't forget to give some more suggestions for the name of the farmhouse and the farmland area down there. I went through the comments on the last episode. I didn't find any that really spoke to me as the one, so I'm definitely still open to suggestions as to what we should call that farmhouse slash farmland area down in the plains at the base of the cherry groves on the hills. And also a special thanks to everybody who's supporting on Patreon. That is a great way to support the content and keep the channel going, both here and over on Twitch where we stream. I'm excited to see what we can get up to in the next episode. I look forward to seeing you guys there. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and until next time, I will see you guys around.